The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched them seat me at table 19, right next to the kitchen doors. A calculated insult, wrapped in the thinnest veneer of plausible deniability. Just like everything else the McGregors did. I'm Callie, and tonight I'm about to burn this family's legacy to the ground. Oh, darling, you look comfortable. Bridget's voice dripped honey-coated venom as she glided past my table, her designer gown whispering across the marble floor. That dress is quite bold for someone of your background. I smiled, taking a slow sip of champagne. Thank you, Bridget. The color reminded me of success. My red Valentino had cost more than her monthly charity budget, not that she needed to know that. Yet, the annual McGregor Foundation Gala sparkled around us, a testament to old money and older prejudices. Crystal chandeliers threw rainbow prisms across faces that had graced society pages for generations. At the center table, my husband Harrison held court with his usual crowd, his laugh echoing across the room as Isabel touched his arm for the third time in 10 minutes. More champagne, madam? A server appeared at my elbow. Please. I checked my phone under the table. 9:15 p.m., 45 minutes until the announcement. Did you hear? A stage whisper from the next table caught my attention. Harrison married her right out of state college. No family connections at all. Just some scholarship girl who got lucky. I remembered the day Harrison proposed. He'd seemed different then. Genuine. Untouched by his family's poison. You're brilliant, he'd said, kneeling in my tiny apartment. You'll shake up their whole world. He had no idea how right he'd be. Callie. Wren appeared beside me, her black sheep status apparent in her vintage dress and unstraightened hair. Don't let them get to you. They're all terrified. Terrified of what? The foundation's in trouble. Real trouble. Dad's been drinking more. Mom's redecorated the house twice this month. And Harrison... She glanced at her brother, still entertaining Isabel. Well, you know Harrison. I did know Harrison. Knew exactly how many times he'd stayed late at work this year. Knew the real numbers behind the foundation's troubles. Knew things that would make Bridget's perfectly Botoxed forehead actually move. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman tapped his glass. Welcome to our 35th annual gala. Tonight, we celebrate not just philanthropy, but family. I tuned out his speech, checking my phone again. A text from Raylan. Everything's ready. You sure about this? I typed back, 7 years of being treated like dirt. Time they learned what real power looks like. And we're especially grateful this year, the chairman continued, for an anonymous benefactor whose extraordinary generosity saved our foundation from recent challenges. Bridget beamed from the head table, probably assuming it was one of her country club friends. Harrison straightened his tie, taking credit he hadn't earned. Even Isabel leaned forward, dollar signs practically visible in her eyes. Another text from Ray Lynn. Live News crews are outside. Ready when you are. Wren squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Whatever you're about to do, she whispered, make it count. I stood up, smoothing my dress. $7.5 million. That's what it had cost to buy this moment, to purchase the right to stand here, in my Valentino armor, watching the mighty McGregors celebrate their salvation without realizing their savior was the scholarship girl they'd relegated to the kitchen table. The chairman shuffled his notes, frowning at a last-minute addition. And now, our mysterious benefactor has requested to say a few words. Bridget's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. Harrison's head snapped up, finally looking in my direction. Isabel's hand dropped from his arm. I stepped away from table 19, my heels clicking against marble in the sudden silence. 7 years of smiling through insults, of watching my husband become his mother's son, of being treated like an outsider, it all led to this moment. Time to show them what real pedigree looks like. The ballroom held its breath as I made my way toward the stage. Bridget's face performed an impressive journey from confusion to horror as I passed the head table. Harrison half rose from his chair, but Isabel's manicured hand kept him anchored. "Callie," he hissed, "what are you doing?" I gave him the same smile I'd worn through countless dinner parties. "Supporting the family, darling. Isn't that what you always wanted?" The chairman's hand shook slightly as he adjusted his microphone. Behind him, Greta Powell, the foundation's manager, whispered something urgent in his ear. I'd seen her watching me all evening, piecing together the puzzle. "Before we continue," Bridget stood up, glass in hand, "I simply must thank all our loyal supporters." "Actually," I cut in, reaching the podium, "I believe this is my moment." I turned to face the crowd, savoring the weight of 300 pairs of eyes. $7.5 million is a significant investment. I'd like to explain why I made it. The gasps rippled through the room like wind through expensive silk. Harrison's face went pale. Josiah, my father-in-law, suddenly seemed very interested in his water glass. "You?" Bridget's voice cracked. "That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money?" I smiled. "You never asked what I did before I married Harrison. Too busy asking which country club my parents belonged to." I paused. For the record, they didn't belong to any. They were too busy working so I could attend college and build my own software company. Wren's delighted laugh rang out from somewhere in the back. A camera flash went off. Someone was definitely breaking the no photos rule. "The foundation needed saving," I continued. "The audit reports were quite clear about that. Weren't they, Josiah?" He coughed into his napkin, avoiding eye contact. "Darling," Harrison stood up, using his boardroom voice, "perhaps we should discuss this in private." "Like you discussed things in private with Isabel last month at the Four Seasons?" The silence turned arctic. Isabel knocked over her wine glass, sending red spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. "Ladies and gentlemen," I addressed the room, "I believe in the Foundation's mission. But I also believe in accountability. That's why my donation comes with conditions." Greta stepped forward, tablet in hand. "The terms have already been filed with the board. They're legally binding." "This is outrageous," Bridget sputtered. "You can't just—" "Actually, I can. Funny thing about saving something from bankruptcy. It gives you leverage." I met her eyes. "Starting tomorrow, the Foundation will implement new policies. Equal representation on the board, financial transparency, and a complete audit of all personal expenses charged to Foundation accounts." Harrison slumped back in his chair. He knew what I'd find. They all did. "You're destroying this family," Bridget said, her voice trembling. "No, Bridget. You did that yourself. I'm just turning on the lights." A commotion at the back of the room drew everyone's attention. Reporters were pushing through the doors, cameras rolling. Right on schedule. "Mrs. McGregor," one called out, "is it true the Foundation was covering up millions in misappropriated funds? Is there any comment on the offshore accounts?" Josiah stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. "This event is private." "Actually," I cut in, "I invited them. Transparency begins tonight." Wade, Harrison's cousin, caught my eye from his table and raised his glass with a slight nod. He'd helped me gather the evidence, tired of watching his family's corruption eat away at everything they claimed to stand for. "Security," Bridget called out. "Remove them immediately." "They can't," Greta spoke up. "The press has proper credentials." "Signed by you last week, Mrs. McGregor. Don't you remember?" Bridget's face went from red to white as she recognized her own signature on the documents Greta held up. She'd been too busy planning table arrangements to read what she was signing. I stepped away from the podium as chaos erupted. Harrison was arguing with the reporters, Josiah was trying to reach his lawyer, and Isabel had simply disappeared. Wren appeared at my side. "That was magnificent," she whispered. "But you know this is just the beginning, right? I watched Bridget's perfectly constructed world crumble around her and felt 7 years of humiliation lift from my shoulders. Oh, I'm counting on it. I pushed through the heavy bathroom door, needing a moment away from the chaos I'd unleashed. My hands shook as I gripped the marble counter, staring at my reflection in the gilt-edged mirror. My phone buzzed. "Raylin, you okay? That was one hell of a show." "Just catching my breath," I texted back. "Phase 2 ready? Documents are prepped. One word and every financial newspaper in the country gets them." The bathroom door swung open. I quickly wiped my eyes, but it was only Wren, looking both excited and terrified. "The press is having a field day," she said, checking her lipstick in the mirror. "Dad's trying to call in favors, but nobody's answering. They smell blood in the water. How's Harrison taking it?" "Currently hiding in Josiah's study with the family lawyer." She turned to face me. "But you're not the only one with secrets tonight, Callie." "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the door opened again. Greta Powell walked in, her heels echoing off the tiles. She locked the door behind her. "Impressive performance," she said, pulling a USB drive from her clutch. "But did you really think you were the only one watching the numbers?" My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. "What do you want, Greta?" "Partnership." She held up the drive. "I have proof of everything. Josiah's embezzlement, Harrison's affairs, Bridget's creative accounting. But I also have something you don't." "Which is?" "Proof that you knew about the Foundation's troubles 6 months before you stepped in. You let them sink deeper on purpose, didn't you? Waited until they were desperate enough to accept any terms?" Wren whistled low. "Damn, Callie. That's cold." "I learned from the best," I said, meeting Greta's eyes in the mirror. "Your point?" "I want a seat on the new board and a percentage of any future tech ventures you launch." She smiled. "I did some digging. Your software company? That was just the beginning of what you're building." My phone buzzed again. "Raylin, heads up, Harrison's looking for you. And he's pissed." "Time's running out," Greta said. "The family's regrouping. They'll try to discredit you, paint you as a gold digger who got lucky with one tech startup." "Let them try." I turned to face her. "You want a board seat? Fine. But everything you have goes to me first." "Deal." She handed over the drive. "But remember, I keep copies." "Of course you do." I smiled. "We should get back. I believe I have more conditions to announce." The hallway outside was eerily quiet compared to the chaos in the main ballroom. As we walked back, Wren grabbed my arm. "Wait," she said. "There's something else you should know. About Harrison and Isabel." A door slammed open at the end of the hall. Harrison stormed toward us, his face flushed with anger and expensive scotch. "How dare you?" he shouted. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Enlighten me," I said, standing my ground. "The Foundation was my birthright, my future, and you just destroyed it for, what, revenge?" "Birthright?" I laughed. "You mean your personal piggy bank? Should we discuss the business trips to Aspen? The jewelry for Isabel?" His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. "You don't know anything. Let her go." Wren's voice cut like ice. She had her phone out, recording everything. Harrison released me, stepping back. "You're both dead to this family. You hear me? Dead." "Funny," I said, rubbing my wrist. "I was about to say the same thing to you." He stormed off, nearly knocking over a waiter. Through the ballroom doors, I could hear Bridget's voice rising hysterically above the crowd. "Ready?" Greta asked, straightening her jacket. I checked my phone one last time. Raylin had sent a simple message. "All systems go." "You know," Wren said quietly, "once you walk back in there, there's no going back. They'll never forgive this." I thought about 7 years of snide comments, of being seated at back tables, of watching my husband become everything I despised. I thought about the lonely nights while Harrison worked late, and the way Bridget's eyes still swept past me at family gatherings. Good, I said, pushing open the ballroom doors. Forgiveness was never part of the plan. The ballroom had devolved into barely controlled chaos. Reporters clustered near the exits, phones recording everything. Josiah stood at the head table, trying to maintain order, but his voice shook with barely contained panic. "Ladies and gentlemen, please, this is a private event." "Actually," I said, stepping back to the podium, "as the foundation's primary benefactor, I think we should let them stay. Transparency, remember? You." Bridget's voice could have frozen hell. "You planned this whole thing." "Not alone." I nodded to Greta, who stepped forward with her tablet. "Would you like to show everyone the real numbers? Or should I?" Josiah's face went ashen. "Now see here. 7 years," I cut him off. 7 years of watching you treat the foundation like a personal ATM. Private jets, vacation homes, shopping sprees, all written off as charitable expenses. I turned to the reporters. "The documents are being sent to your emails now." The sound of notification pings filled the room like digital rainfall. "You can't prove anything," Harrison said, but his voice cracked. "Really?" I pulled up an email on the presentation screen. "This invoice for Isabel's Cartier bracelet, the one you coded as community outreach materials, suggests otherwise." Isabel choked on her drink, sputtering wine across her white dress. "And Bridget," I continued, "those monthly spa retreats in Switzerland? Fascinating how they always coincided with foundation leadership conferences." "You little witch," Bridget hissed. "You're nothing but a social climbing—" "CEO," I interrupted. "The word you're looking for is CEO. Of 3 companies now, actually. The software firm was just the beginning." The room erupted in whispers. Harrison's jaw dropped. He'd always assumed my first company was a lucky fluke. "That's right," I said, addressing the crowd. "While you were all busy judging my background, I was building an empire. One that's now worth considerably more than the McGregor Foundation." "Impossible," Josiah muttered. Greta stepped forward. "Actually, sir, I've verified her holdings. She could have bought the foundation outright instead of just saving it." "Then why didn't you?" Harrison demanded. "Because this way was more fun." I smiled. "And I have conditions." "You mentioned those," Bridget said tightly. "What exactly do you want?" "First, a new board. One that actually represents the community we serve. Second, all current trustees step down. Immediately. Third, a full forensic audit of every transaction for the past decade." "You can't," Josiah started. "I can, and I will. Unless you'd prefer I withdraw my support. I'm sure the IRS would love to see these records." The silence was deafening. Even the reporters had stopped typing. "I'll do you one better," Wren said, stepping forward. "I have proof of tax fraud going back 15 years. Want to see?" Harrison spun toward his sister. "You knew about this?" "Some of us actually care about doing good, not just looking good." She joined me at the podium. "I've been helping Callie gather evidence for months." "Traitor," Bridget spat. "No, Mother. I'm the only one here being true to what this foundation was supposed to be about." I raised my glass. "To new beginnings. And to karma. Which, as it turns out, takes American Express." The reporters burst into questions. Cameras flashed. Josiah slumped in his chair, looking every bit his age. Harrison stormed out, Isabel trailing behind him like a guilty shadow. "You've destroyed us," Bridget said quietly. "No." I met her eyes. "I've freed you. From lies, from pretense, from the weight of all that fake perfection. You just don't know it yet." My phone buzzed. "Ray Lynn. Stock markets opening in Asia. Want me to release the international files, too?" I looked at Bridget's crumbling facade, at Harrison's empty chair, at the empire of cards they'd built on other people's money. "Not yet," I texted back. "Let's give them one night to decide. Come clean or go down fighting." Wren touched my arm.
They'll fight. You know that, right?
I watched Greta distributing documents to the board members, watched Josiah's hands shake as he read the numbers, watched Bridget's perfect mask finally crack. Good, I said, because I'm just getting started. The reporters surged forward with fresh questions, but I was already walking away. Let them chase the story. I had bigger plans for tomorrow. After all, revenge is a dish best served in courses. The morning after the gala, I sat in my home office watching the chaos unfold across every major news network. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. Turn on CNN, Raylan texted. Josiah's doing damage control. It's a train wreck. I flipped channels just in time to see my father-in-law sweating through an interview. These allegations are completely unfounded. We have documents showing you authorized over $3 million in personal expenses last year alone, the reporter cut in, including a yacht registered to your daughter's boyfriend. My intercom buzzed. Mrs. McGregor, your husband is here. Send him up. I straightened my blazer, ready for battle. Harrison burst in, looking like he hadn't slept. Make it stop, he demanded. Call off the reporters. Kill the story. Why would I do that? Because I'm your husband. He slammed his hands on my desk. Because this is my family. Funny, I don't remember being treated like family when your mother seated me by the kitchen, or when you were sleeping with Isabel. I didn't. He ran his hands through his disheveled hair. Look, what do you want? Money? A public apology? I want everything. I pulled up a document on my screen. Starting with your resignation from the foundation board. You can't. Already done. Check your email. His phone dinged. As he read, his face went from red to white. These allegations, if they go public, you mean the embezzlement, the affair, or the offshore accounts? How did you... Greta's been very helpful. Amazing what people will share when they're tired of covering up lies. The intercom buzzed again. Mrs. McGregor, Ms. Wren is here with the legal team. Harrison's head snapped up. Wren? You're working with my sister? Actually, Wren said, walking in with a team of lawyers, I'm the new interim board chair. Surprise, big brother. Harrison collapsed into a chair. This is a nightmare. No, I said. This is consequences. Sign the resignation letter, Harrison. It's the only way to avoid criminal charges. Criminal charges? His voice cracked. Wren dropped a thick folder on my desk. Tax fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation of charitable funds. Should I continue? A commotion erupted in the hallway. Bridget burst in, followed by security trying to stop her. You vindictive little... She stopped short, seeing the lawyers. What's this? Your resignation package, I said calmly. Unless you'd prefer to explain to the IRS why foundation money paid for your third facelift. You wouldn't dare. I pulled up another screen. The documents go public in 1 hour. Sign now, walk away clean. Fight me, and I'll bury you.
Mother, Wren said softly, please, for once, do the right thing. Bridget's perfectly manicured hands shook as she reached for the papers. This isn't over. Actually, it is. I stood up. You see, while you were all busy maintaining appearances, I was building something real. Something that can't be taken away by family name or social status. Your tech companies, Harrison said. How much are they really worth?
Enough to buy and sell the McGregor fortune 10 times over. I smiled. Not bad for a scholarship girl, right? My phone buzzed. Raylan again. Josiah just cracked on live TV. Admitted everything. Sign, I told them, or join him in the spotlight. The next few minutes were silent except for the scratch of pens. Harrison signed without looking at me. Bridget's signature was shaky but legible. Get out, I said quietly. Both of you. As they left, Wren stayed behind. That was almost too easy. They're not done fighting, I said, watching them go. This was just round 1. Good thing we have round 2 ready. She grinned. The ethics committee meets tomorrow. Wait until they see what we found in Josiah's private files. My phone lit up with a text from Greta. Board meeting in 30? Ready to remake history? I looked at my office, at the empire I'd built while they underestimated me, at the power they never saw coming. Time to show them what real legacy looks like, I said to Wren. Care to help me burn it all down and build something better? She linked her arm through mine. I thought you'd never ask. The ethics committee boardroom felt like a courtroom, with Josiah and his remaining loyalists on one side, my team on the other. The morning news played silently on wall-mounted screens, showing footage of police escorting Foundation executives from their offices. This is a witch hunt, Josiah declared, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. No, Greta said, sliding documents across the table. This is accountability. Page 3, paragraph 2. Care to explain why Foundation money was used to bribe building inspectors? Before he could answer, the door burst open. Harrison strode in, followed by a new lawyer. I'm contesting everything, he announced. My wife orchestrated this entire scandal to seize control of family assets.
Your wife? Wren laughed. You mean the woman you cheated on while stealing from her companies? The committee chairman leaned forward. What's this about stealing? I pulled out my laptop. Harrison has been embezzling from my tech firms through shell companies. Would you like to see the transfer records? Harrison's new lawyer went pale. Mr. McGregor, you didn't mention— Because it's lies, Harrison shouted. She's trying to destroy me.
Actually, Raylan said, walking in with more files, you did that yourself. These are records of every illegal transaction, every falsified report, and every email planning to hide assets from your wife. Who the hell are you? Josiah demanded. Raylan Simpson, new CFO of Callie's Technology Group, and the person who's been tracking your family's financial crimes for the past 3 years. The committee members whispered among themselves. On the news screens, Bridget was being interviewed, desperately trying to spin the scandal. This is what happens, she was saying, when you let new money into old institutions. Mute that, I told Greta. We have more important things to discuss, like the offshore accounts. Josiah's face turned gray. You can't prove— Panama, Cayman Islands, and Switzerland. Raylan interrupted. Would you like the account numbers? Harrison stood up so fast his chair toppled. I want a divorce. Funny, I said. I already filed yesterday, but you might want to read the prenup again. Specifically, the infidelity clause. What infidelity clause? His lawyer grabbed the contract. The one that says if Harrison cheats, he forfeits any claim to my assets. I smiled. Isabel was very helpful in providing evidence, by the way. Amazing what scorned lovers will share. The committee chairman cleared his throat. Given these revelations, we have no choice but to— The door flew open again. Bridget rushed in, mascara streaked. Stop. You can't do this to us. We are the McGregors. Were, Wren corrected. Past tense. The Foundation has new leadership now. You ungrateful child. Careful, Mother, Wren warned. I'm recording this for the documentary. Documentary? Harrison and Josiah asked simultaneously. Netflix paid very well for the rights, I explained. Something about eat the rich being trendy. The committee chairman banged his gavel. Enough. Based on the evidence presented, this committee has no choice but to recommend criminal investigation of all current board members, except Ms. Wren and Mrs. Callie. Josiah slumped in his chair. Harrison stormed out, his lawyer chasing after him. Bridget just stood there, decades of superiority crumbling before our eyes. You've killed us, she whispered. No, I replied. I've exposed you. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. A news alert. McGregor Foundation scandal widens. International investigations launched. Shall we discuss surrender terms? Greta asked Josiah. He looked at his empire falling apart and finally nodded. Smart choice, Wren said. The police are already downstairs anyway. As if on cue, Officers entered the boardroom. We watched in silence as they read Josiah his rights, as Bridget finally broke down, as the mighty McGregors became just another cautionary tale about power and corruption. Was it worth it? Raylan asked quietly. I thought about every slight, every insult, every time they made me feel small. Then I thought about the Foundation's real mission, about all the good it could do now, freed from their greed. Ask me again in a year, I said, watching them lead Josiah away. When we've turned their shame into something meaningful. Wren squeezed my hand. Ready for the press conference? I straightened my jacket, checking my reflection in the window. Time to show the world what real philanthropy looks like. Behind us, the McGregors' carefully constructed world continued to burn. Ahead of us lay something far more valuable than revenge: redemption. 6 months later, I stood in the same ballroom where it all began. The annual gala was transformed. No more stuffy old money pretense. Instead, real community leaders filled the tables, and the Foundation's actual work took center stage. Ready? Wren adjusted my microphone. Full house tonight. Almost. I checked my phone. One last text from my lawyer. Divorce finalized. Harrison took the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, Greta announced from the podium, please welcome our chairwoman, Callie. The applause felt different this time. Genuine, not performative. I took the stage, remembering that night 6 months ago. What a difference half a year makes, I began. Last time I stood here, the back doors burst open. Harrison stumbled in, clearly drunk, his tie askew. This should be my night. Security moved toward him, but I held up my hand. Let him speak. I think we'd all love to hear his perspective from prison visiting hours. The crowd tittered. Josiah's trial had ended last week, guilty on all counts. Harrison had turned state's evidence, earning himself house arrest instead of jail time. You think you've won? He swayed slightly. You're still just that scholarship girl playing dress-up. Actually, Raylan stood up, she's the woman who just acquired your family's remaining assets. The paperwork cleared this morning. Harrison's face crumpled. What? The mansion, the summer houses, the art collection, all purchased at auction to fund the Foundation's new initiatives. I smiled. Don't worry, I kept your childhood bedroom intact. The race car wallpaper is charming. You can't. Already did. Would you like to see the receipts? Unlike your family, I keep accurate records. The crowd was loving it. Several phones recorded Harrison's meltdown for posterity. Security, Wren called. Please show my brother out. Gently. We don't want to violate his house arrest conditions. As they led him away, Isabel of all people approached the stage. Callie, I have something you should see. She handed me a folder. Inside were emails between Harrison and Bridget, dating back to before our wedding. They planned it all, Isabel said, finding someone successful they could manipulate, marrying into new money. I was just their backup plan. The ballroom went silent, waiting for my reaction. Thank you, Isabel. I turned to the crowd. See, this is exactly why our Foundation's first new initiative is supporting women in business and tech. So no one has to marry their way into power ever again. Applause erupted. Isabel slipped away, looking both relieved and ashamed. Now, I continued, let's talk about our real achievements. In 6 months, we've funded 30 women-owned startups, established 15 community education centers, and launched a scholarship program that would have changed my life when I was younger. Wren joined me on stage. Don't forget the tech incubator. Right. Opening next month in what used to be Bridget's favorite country club. More applause. More genuine smiles. This was what the Foundation should have been all along.
My phone buzzed. A message from Bridget. You've taken everything. Are you happy now? Actually, I typed back, I'm just getting started. Watch tomorrow's news. What's tomorrow? Wren whispered. The announcement of our biggest project yet. We're turning the McGregor Mansion into a women's business center and shelter. Greta's eyes widened. Bridget will have a stroke. Then she shouldn't have put the house in the foundation's name to dodge taxes.
The evening continued. Speeches, awards, real celebrations of real work. No fake philanthropy, no social climbing, just genuine change. Later, as the crowd mingled, Raylan found me by the window. Harrison's latest appeal was denied. Josiah's assets are frozen. Bridget's facing her own charges next week. And the foundation? Donations are up 300% since the scandal. Turns out, people like supporting actual charity instead of rich people's tax shelters. I watched the room. Diverse, energetic, authentic. Everything the McGregors had feared and fought against. You know what the best revenge is? Wren asked, joining us. What's that? Success. She clinked her glass against mine. Pure, honest, undeniable success. Through the window, I could see Harrison being driven away in his security detail's car. Behind him, the city skyline glittered with possibility. To success, then, I said, and to karma, which, as it turns out, makes an excellent business partner. And that's how real change happens. I concluded my keynote speech at the Women in Tech Summit. Not by fitting into someone else's world, but by building your own. The standing ovation felt different from the polite applause I'd received at McGregor events. This was earned, not inherited. Backstage, Wren waited with news. Bridget's verdict just came in. Guilty on all counts. How many years? 8 to 12. No country club prison either. She handed me her phone. But that's not the big news. Look at this. A news alert showed Harrison being led out of his house in handcuffs. He'd violated house arrest trying to access frozen accounts. Some people never learn, Raylan said, joining us. Ready for the foundation meeting? The McGregor Foundation, now simply called the Forward Foundation, had its headquarters in the converted mansion. Walking through those doors still felt surreal, but now the halls buzzed with purpose instead of pretense. Mrs. Callie? A young woman approached, clutching a laptop. I'm Sarah, one of your scholarship recipients. I just landed my first tech job and nothing would make Bridget angrier than your success, I finished, hugging her. Congratulations. The boardroom was packed. Greta had the quarterly reports ready. Revenue's up again, she announced. Turns out ethical business practices are profitable. Who knew? Speaking of ethics, Wade said from the doorway, you've got visitors. Isabel entered, leading a group of women. These are all, were Harrison's former mistresses. We want to help with the shelter program. Why? Wren asked. Because we know what it's like to be used by powerful men, Isabel replied, and we're done being silent. My phone buzzed. A text from Harrison. I'm sorry. For everything. Delete, I told my phone. Some apologies come too late. The documentary airs tonight, Wren reminded me. Sure you're ready for the world to see everything? The world needs to see everything, I said. Every lie, every scheme, every broken system that lets families like the McGregors prosper while others struggle. Speaking of struggling, Raylan pulled up a news site. Josiah's trying to write a memoir from prison. Claims he's the victim of cancel culture. Let him write, I said. Truth has a way of surviving fiction. The meeting proceeded with updates on our initiatives. Coding camps for girls, business loans for women entrepreneurs, shelters equipped with job training programs. Everything the foundation should have been doing all along. One last item, Greta said. The ethics committee received a letter from Bridget. She wants to make a deal. No deals, Wren and I said simultaneously. Some things can't be negotiated, I added, like integrity. The day continued with meetings, decisions, actual work, not the performative charity the McGregors had specialized in. Every now and then, I caught glimpses of the old world. Harrison's face on news reports, Bridget's name in headlines, Josiah's empire crumbling. But those glimpses grew fainter each day, replaced by something real. Sarah's success story, Isabel's redemption, countless women finding their power. That evening, watching the documentary air, I sat between Ren and Raylin. The screen showed the gala where it all began. That red Valentino dress, table 19 by the kitchen. You know what I love most about this ending? Ren asked. What's that? It's actually a beginning. My phone lit up with messages as the documentary played. Women sharing similar stories, offering support, asking how to help. The McGregor name, once a symbol of old money's stranglehold on power, was becoming a cautionary tale about karma's perfect timing. Ready for tomorrow? Raylin asked as the credits rolled. I thought about the Foundation's new projects, the lives we'd touch, the changes we'd make. I thought about that scholarship girl who once felt small in a world of giants, now building something bigger than their outdated empire. You know what? I said, standing up. I'm done looking backward. The McGregors spent generations building walls to keep people out. We're going to spend generations building doors to let people in. To new beginnings. Ren raised her glass.
No, I corrected her. To right now. Because this moment, this is what real power feels like. They thought I was seating myself at the edge of their world. They never saw that I was about to redraw the map entirely,